Okay, let's get started. My name is Anatolii. I work at Red Hat. And today I would like to talk about implementing a new debug adapter, and specifically for Pig Latin. My intention is to show that adding a new implementation of debug adapter is relatively easy, and encourage others to contribute into this project or into other adapters. So, what we'll be discussing today? First of all, I briefly go through debug adapter protocol, explain why it's necessary and what is it. Then I provide guidelines for adding a new implementation. And finally, I will show a demo using debug adapter for Pig Latin. Just okay, so raise your hand who is aware of Apache Pig project and Pig Latin. Okay, two of us. It's fine. Okay. So what is the debug adapter protocol? Basically, the debug adapter protocol defines a generic way on how a development tool can communicate with a debugger. Why it's important? Imagine there are a lot of IDEs, and instead of integrating debuggers into those IDEs, it's better to adopt them to some protocol, so-called debug adapter protocol, and let IDEs implement this protocol. It allows us to reuse debuggers across different tools and reduce supports for development tools to integrate a new debugger. This diagram shows that Theia IDE doesn't communicate directly with debuggers, but uses a protocol for this purpose. Theia works fine with Node, GDB, Java, Python, PHP, Go, .NET, probably something else debuggers. Okay, how to implement a new debugger? The best way is to start from some sample and just understand how things works. For our case, I took VS Code mock debugger and packed into Theia plugin. So we need a Yeoman plugin generator, install it, and run it. When prompted, we confirm choices for backend plugin, samples, debugger sample, and it will create ready-to-use project that can be deployed into Theia. Let's go through project structure. Package.json, it contains debugger contribution. Debug backend is basically entry point of the plugin. Also, project has configuration provider of debugger and 3 classes that are responsible for implementation of debug adapter. Let's have a close look on each one. Package.json, it contains, as I told, debugger contribution. Has several attributes. Type, some internal value of debugger. Label is what will be shown in the Theia. Program, which points to some script. It's basically debug adapter. When runs, it runs the script. Then it has configuration, which contains several properties. It's program, the program which points to file to debug, and stop on entry property, which indicates that debugger must stop when it starts. Stops at the very first line of the program. Debug backend is entry point of the plugin, just implements start and stop function, and in our case, it just registers configuration provider. Configuration provider do nothing but ensures that configuration has correct properties. It's because it's sample, it shouldn't do some complex things. Debug adapter is a script that runs, basically run a debug session. And 2 other files are responsible for implementation debug adapter, and in real case should be replaced to code that talks to real debuggers. So we built it, put in a resulted file in plugin folders, and run Theia. And how it works. And right now, let's talk about Apache Pig. What is it and why it needs its own debugger? So Apache Pig is a platform that's used for analyzing large data sets and consists of a high-level language called Pig Latin. Let's have a look at sample. So it's scripts that do the following things. The first line, it loads some data and parses, and this data contains several properties. First of all, it's integer, and to others, string values. Then the script, the line number 2, just get rid of field number 2, yeah, and keeps the first and the third field. The next row, number 3, just filters data set. Row number 4, keep distant values. The next row, split the data set into 2 others. And the last row, which just do the opposite value, the opposite operation, combines 2 data sets in one. So Apache Pig has several operators to test and to diagnose. It's dump operation, which prints prints data set on the screen or on the file. And describe. Describe basically shows the schema of the data set. For instance, in our case, for data set relation A1, it would print F1 has integer value, F2 is type of string, and F3 is type of string 2. So it just prints the type of the data set. But it's not convenient, because to test Apache Pig scripts, we have to add these test operators into script, and we don't know where to add, because usually script is pretty huge and it's not convenient. So it would be nice if we can execute those scripts line by line and check the data set, print value, or execute some additional commands. So let's have a look at debug adapter for Pig Latin. And let's have a look on plugin that contains this debug adapter. So one more time, we have packages on with debugger contribution, right? And in our case, it has type pig and label pig debug. It contains executable command which just returns the command line to start debug adapter. And also 2 properties which are the same. It's a program, which indicates the script to debug, and stop and entry attribute. Entry point of the plugin contains registration configuration provider, and it also registers command. And as you can see, the command itself returns a command line to start debug adapter. Yeah. Configuration providers is the same. It just ensures that configurations are correct. And regarding debug adapter, the implementation of the debug adapter that I did is based on Java debug server for Visual Studio Code. And now let's have a demo. Okay. Here we go. We have a script, a real pig script. Oh, yeah, of course. Sorry. Much better. We have data set. It's 3 columns: integer, string, and string. And configuration. We don't have configuration. Let's add debug configuration for Apache Pig. Should be here. Type pig, request launch. name, just a name, stop at entry. It indicates that debugger will stop on very first line. And program should point to the pig script to debug. Okay, let's select this script, this very script. Remove breakpoint. Okay. Not saved. Let's save it. Yeah. So select file and start debugging. Cool. It stopped in the very first line, and right now it's nothing interesting. Let's add some breakpoint to scripts here, for example, here. This implementation supports almost all functions, so we can do step actions. Let's continue here. We on the line number 2. Call stack shows the lines that where we currently stopped. List of variables. Right now, the only one variable is available. It's A1, and we can check what it contains. Yeah, the data set that we loaded from data.txt file. Also, we can do evaluation. For instance, if we available any identifiers, variables, we can check their values in the console. Cool. Also, okay, let's resume. Let's resume and stop on the next breakpoint. Yeah, okay, we are here. We can execute any commands in the console. For instance, we need some variable z, and that derived from A1 and contains only field number 2, for instance. For each A1, generate F2 first. Yeah. Because sorry. Yeah. Cool. It works. Also, we can show variables, the value of the variables in the editor. Yeah. Do step function, continue, and the result will be printed in the console. What we don't support for now is when one script executes some function from another script, it doesn't do in this way. It doesn't load another script. And right now we are supporting only one script and all operators that are available from Apache Pig. And that's basically it that I wanted to show you. I guess we have a lot of time, and I would like to answer the questions. Yes, please.
One thing you didn't show there was actually the debug adapter itself. And
yes, I told that it's implemented based on Java debug server from Visual Code. The implementation itself is not so simple to do to put in the slides. I mean, it contains handlers for all requests and the protocol that communicates between Theia and handlers. So I just mentioned that implementation is based on Microsoft Java debug server, and to implement it's relatively easy if you are aware of protocol.
How do you what do you use, or what protocol do you use to actually access the engine that executes the script?
I used embedded Pig server that I run in that Java machine. And I just, in this server has a function to execute scripts, to get some values, to modify values. So this is how I access big server.
So basically just do a command line interface and insert those dump and describe calls.
Basically, yes.
Cool, thank you. Now a VS Code plugin, extension, or is it a Theia plugin?
It's Theia plugin.
Theia plugin, okay.
But the API is the same.
Right.
It was the Theia namespace, but basically the VS Code API.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.